Now, I know I've told you already that when you study, you shouldn't be making notes. You should just be doing question after question after question. And all of them should be from past exams, like this one. So aren't you happy that I found some questions for you? But when you're confronted with a factorized question, I would recommend that you quickly write down what are the different things we can factorize or look for when we are factorizing. Firstly, we can look for common factors. And remember that common factors include grouping as well as changing the sign. So let's write that down. And changing the sign, change of sign. Okay. So that's the first thing we can look for. The second thing we can look for is a difference of two squares. So let's write that down, difference of two squares. The third thing we can look for is factorizing a trinomial. Trinomial. And the last thing is the sum or difference of two cubes. And I've got to be honest here. We don't often ask the sum or difference of two cubes. And if we do ask it, we expect you to get 100% for that kind of question because it's a straightforward studying question. So make sure that you know how to do the sum or difference of two cubes without thinking. But also don't spend loads of time on it because it's probably going to be limited to about 3 marks. So it's not really worth spending that much time. But still, 3 marks is 3 marks. So let's look at this first question, taken from a past grade 10 exam paper. We need to factorize fully. It's obviously an expression because it doesn't have an equal sign in it. And I'm going to look first for a common factor. And I notice, I've now scribbled over the 3. Let's just circle it. I've noticed I have a common factor of 3 in both of the terms. So the first thing I'm going to do is take out that common factor, because I always look for a common factor first. And now I have 3 on the outside with x squared minus 1 on the inside. Well, let's go through the checklist. I'll look for another common factor. Is it there? No more common factors. Now I'll look for a difference of two squares. Look at that. I have x squared minus 1, which of course is a difference of two squares. So let's put that in. X minus 1 and x plus 1. And there we go. If I were to mark this, I would say 1 mark for taking out 3 as a common factor, and 1 or maybe 2 for doing a sum and a difference of two squares at least. So it could be as much as 3 marks, but it's probably only going to be 2. Another factorizing question, the first thing we look for is always, is there a common factor? Let's go through and look. We've got a 2, we've got 20, and we've got 32. All of those have 2 as a common factor. So let's take that out, and that will make the whole question a lot easier. So every single term is being divided by 2. And now we need to figure out this trinomial. Obviously, we don't have a difference of two squares, and we don't have any more common factors. So we need to do the trinomial. I'm going to do some calculations over here. Everyone does trinomial calculations in a slightly different way. I like using an x. And I'm going to start with 8 and 2 and see if those work out. 8 and negative 2. X times by negative 2 gives me negative 2x. And x times by 8 gives me 8x. If I add those two together, I'm going to get 6x. And that's not what I want. So let's erase that quickly. 8 and 2, there's no way it's going to work. Some other factors, 4 and 4. Nope, I don't see that working. I don't know what's going to work. 2 and 8, 4, and what about 1 and, ooh, I think we're stuck. And you know why I think we're stuck? It's because I think they want us to realize that we can't factorize any further. We can't factorize anything that's there with the trinomial, and you've got to watch out because maths teachers do like to be a little tricky. So let's go to the next question. Once again, we look first for a common factor. Look at that. We have an x in each term. So the first thing we're going to do is take out x as a common factor. And that leaves us with 1 minus 2x and plus x squared. Ugh, that looks horrible. So I'm going to be a little sneaky here and rearrange it so that it becomes x squared minus 2x plus 1. And the only reason I've done that is to make things look nicer for myself. Now this is going to be a trinomial, and because I am so brilliant, I can see it's already going to work. But I'll show you over here. So I've got x and x because that's what x squared can become. And I've got 1 and 1. 1 times 1 is equals to 1, so that works out. Which means x times by 1 gives me x, and x times by 1 gives me x. Is it the same as the middle term? No, it's not, because the middle term is minus 2x. However, if I change it to minus 1 times by minus 1, those will still give me an answer of 1. But x times minus 1 gives me minus x, and x times minus 1 gives me minus x, which gives me a total of minus 2x. So that means my brackets are x minus 1 and x minus 1. So let's put that in. Now, if you wanted to be all fancy, you could take it one step further and say, well, the two brackets are exactly the same. So let's just turn it into a squared bracket. But it's not actually necessary. Over here, we've simplified it already as far as it can go. Ooh, look at this one. This one has 4 terms. Now, whenever we see 4 terms, we immediately need to start thinking about grouping. So we're still looking for a common factor first, but with the intention of grouping them together. So let's see. We've got an A and an A over there, so we could group those together. I think we're going to do that. The first thing I'm going to do is rearrange it. So I've got x squared minus bx plus ax minus ab. And now I'm going to group it. So I'll put x squared minus bx. I've got to be careful here. I'm going to run out of space if I don't write smaller. And then ax minus ab. Let's take out common factors within those brackets. The first bracket has a common factor of x. And I'm left with x minus b, and this is going to work out beautifully. The second bracket has a common factor of a. So I'm left with x minus b. And look at that. We have a common bracket, which is the same as saying a common factor. So I'm going to take out x minus b as a common factor, and I'll be left with x plus a. Isn't that beautiful? Makes me happy. Okay, but the last question, before I go on to that, let's just erase all of this rubbish that's taking up so much space. And while I'm busy erasing it, I'm just going to remind you that whatever you write in pencil will more than likely be ignored by your teacher. So you must always write in pen. Always, always, always. Okay. Now, once again, we have quite a big term, and we have another quite a big term that we need to simplify. If I look very closely at these two brackets, I can see that they almost look exactly the same, but not quite. This one is 2x minus y, and that one is y minus 2x. but I've got a mathematical trick that can make them the same. Yes, I can change the sign. So I'm going to keep the front one, or the first term, exactly the same. And I'm going to change the second term to a minus 12 rather than plus 12. And then it becomes 2x minus y. That's what I love about maths. You can often change things so that it just works out better for you. It's so much simpler than life where you can't change certain things. You have to just go with what's given to you. But maths, you can always make it simpler to make it work for you. So I changed the sign so that I could have a common bracket, and I took out the common bracket. And now I've got this other bracket over here, but let's look a little closer. Do you see that I have a common factor there? So I can take out 3 as a common factor, and I know some of you are going, what? But the 3's in front. Yeah, it's okay. Because remember, 2 times 3 times 4 is the same as 4 times 3 times 2. And in essence, these 3 terms, or 3 values, are being multiplied by each other. So whether I'd put the 3 between the brackets or in the front, it all works out the same. But now look, we have a difference of 2 squares. So this is the last step to this particular calculation. And boy, is it a lovely calculation. It's a good brain tickle, I think. Well, that's the first 5 questions of any paper 1 exam done. Remember, you need to practice lots of expressions, and with expressions you can have the equal sign next to the margin. Why? Because there are no other equal signs in the question. Remember, only one equal sign per thing. Okay, dears. Goodbye.